Hello, hello. This is Irene with SaugaTalks. Hello, thank you so much for tuning in. We
Today,
want these videos making the biggest impact in the world, all right? So please follow SaugaTalks, not just for Irene's self, ego and vanity. No, this is for my guests. This is for the large amount of people out there who really trying to learn what technology impact is having on us. I mean, what is it happening right now? As we keep hearing, world is not going to be the same anymore, all right? And here I'm so privileged to speak with extremely influential bright people on the planet, around the globe, because the audience is global, right? The speakers are global, and I am trying to keep up with all the trends over here on SaugaTalks. So today is my day because Tim Hughes is with me. Tim, how are you?
I'm very well, Ari. Do you know, I am. I hype you. You are such a icon. You know, you've taken this podcast, and you have a number. You do it to educate people, and that is such a valuable thing. And you should win some sort of prize or something for it, because it's you've become a destination.
Thank you, Tim.
No, it's okay. Now I know this is about me, but I want to up front. I want to say, when I got my new book out, I made a list of podcasts I needed to go on, and this was on that list because you are influential. This is a podcast that people turn to because you're honest. You delve into the. I've watched many an interview, and you've made such a wonderful thing.
Tim, thank you. You just
No,
made my day. Yeah.
well, yeah, but you have as everybody, you've got to start somewhere, and you build it up and 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 it goes, and you've turned it into something that you are. What you've built is a case study on how you take podcasts and turn them into something, because what you've never done is sold. What you've always done is put the audience and your guest and the knowledge that they're going to bring at the forefront, and that is highly commendable. Thank you so much.
So true. So true. Listen to Tim, okay? This words from one podcaster to another, all right? So please join our joint community, because what we do here, Tim, you're absolutely right. We're collaborating. Okay, we're reaching out, what is it, across the span, across the globe in many cases, right? To join the forces, to share the knowledge, because you have experience, I have experience, right? Our audience living through these times, trying to educate or even wrap their heads around some of the very pressing, very exciting trends we're seeing out there. All right. So let's just dive right in, because, Tim, you've been on social selling for a long time, all right? And I know you're huge. It's not because, again, this is like my ball in my court. No. You're huge. You have your point of view on what social selling should be and what it is not right now, all right? And of course, in these times, I do want to talk to you about modern social selling, because we all seem to be, it's not just me being a creator in creative economy. I see solution architects, I see principals, I see executives, I see everyone around technology. That's the business I'm in, right? Understanding that, yes, social selling becoming the thing now. You cannot not be doing that. And yet people still frustrated, don't get it right. And experts like yourself, Tim, is huge help. So can you give us an update, what you see happening in 2023, modern social selling? What is it all about now?
I think that we've recognised, and it was accelerated because of COVID, that we've now moved online. We're comfortable about being online. Even my 85-year-old mother is used to, Zoom calls and things like that. She ran her wine group, or two wine groups that she had over COVID online. She was told it would never happen, but she was able to do it. And I think we're now comfortable. We've got over all of those things. And what that means, that we've now moved over from being in the physical world to working in the digital world. And 1 minute maybe we may be feeding the dog, and the next minute we pick up our mobile and we're in LinkedIn, and that's when we're in the digital world. And you will have spoken to people about digital twins, where you've got maybe a building where you've got a piece of software where you can build a digital twin of that building, and you can check for maintenance. We have the same thing of ourselves. So we have to now recognize that in the past it was called personal brand. And that kind of seems to be some sort of glorious thing that we can never we have a position on digital. We know it's there, and we have to look after it. Just as much as in the analog world, we turn up to meetings on time and we do what we say we're going to do. We also need to have a position within the digital world. And that means, so there's three things that we always recommend that people have. First and foremost is that you need to have what we call a buyer-centric profile. So this is a profile that's applicable to your buyers. This is not about you. A lot of salespeople think it is, but it's actually about your buyers. So we have situations, and this may not be the case so much for technical people, but I can give you an instance where it is, which is where, but most people, when you pick up the phone and you scroll through LinkedIn, you go boring, 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 boring. Oh, that's interesting. And what we need to be are oh, that's interesting. And what often we see is that people either don't look after their profile. There's 900 million people on LinkedIn. They're walking past your profile every day. In effect, it's your shop window. You want them to go, that's interesting. I never thought about that before. Or that person looks interesting, or whatever it is that you're trying to get over, or that person looks trustworthy. And so having that buyer-centric profile, and what that does, it provides transformation. Because classically, from a sales perspective, we go, I don't believe a word you say. I don't trust you. You're just going to try and sell me something I don't want. Whereas when we have a buyer-centric profile, people actually go, that looks interesting. And we have customers where buyers have gone onto social media, they've searched for something, they've seen an individual, and they've actually walked towards them and said, you look interesting. I think you can help us. Can we have a conversation? There's a conversation, which normal buyer selling conversation that's taken place for hundreds of years. And that's turned into a $2.6 million deal. So there are people doing $1 million deals by using social media. Now, whether you're, I had someone recently come to me who works for a big consulting company, and they said, we are not getting people coming to us and asking about AI. We know the competition has basically been asked in to present to the board to give a point of view, but we're not being asked in. And this is the issue. So these are not salespeople. This is a large consulting organization that should have a point of view, that should be being asked in. Now, transformational deals like this will be multiple millions or even billions. So the fact what's happening is, because they're not embracing their digital twin, because they're not embracing what they should look like across the whole of the organization, they're missing out on big opportunities and big opportunities to get in early and actually give their point of view to that organization. And that's one of the big things that people are missing out of. And because they don't have a buyer-centric profile, they are invisible.
Visibility, right? Also overused word, but the way you talk about it, it's really, right? It's really, are you interesting over there, right? And if it's not, right, you're missing out.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah. So we know from our own research that when people come to social media, they come to have a conversation. It's social media. It's about media and being social. We don't come to social media to read brochures. So what you have is this situation at the moment, quite often under the name of employee advocacy, which is this, what we're going to do is that we're going to try and push brochures out, because if you read our brochure, you'll just think we're amazing, and we won't. We'll just avoid it. And in fact, what you do is that you teach the algorithm and your customers to ignore you. What we're looking for, and all of us do this, is we're looking for insight. We're looking to be told something we don't know. And we search differently on social media than we do on Google. Now, research shows also that most people now under 30 use social media to search more than they do Google. So you've got this situation. Now we do it side by side, but what happens is that when we go to Google, we'll say, can you give me the top 10 restaurants, Italian restaurants in London, or what's the capital of Nigeria? Now, if you go to Google and say, what's the #1 CRM system in the world? What will happen is all the CRM vendors will buy that search. So you don't get a response. Whereas people are coming to social media and they're asking those things because we're now far more clever around search, and we're asking those things. But also what we're doing is that we'll get a view from people about CRM, for example. And we're using social media as a way to discover things. The only way that you as an individual can, what we're trying to do is make sure that the thing that we sell is that we're going to be found. The only way that you can do that is to make sure that you have a wide and varied network. This is the second thing that you need. So you need to connect to people. Now, when you connect to people, this isn't about connecting to people and say, hi, I'm Tim Hughes and I'm your local salesperson, because people will just ignore you, because you know all you're going to do is connect and pitch. And that's not social selling, it's spam. So what you need to do is learn a way of connecting to people and connecting to people in a way that they're going to respond and actually connect. Now, you can do that. We actually teach people how you can do that. But when you connect, this is your opportunity to have a conversation. Now, what people don't seem to realize is that conversations create sales. All of the people that you've had on, that you've interviewed from a B2B perspective, whatever they're selling, because they've come here to have a conversation, requires them to have a conversation to sell whatever they're selling. So what we need are conversations. And by connecting to people and growing your network, a digital territory if you're in sales, but because you're connecting to people and having a wide and as varied network, then that you're more likely to get asked in to have conversations. Now, whether you're technical or whether you're in sales, if, for example, your target account is BP or Shell, if you're not connected to anybody in those accounts, you're invisible. So you're not going to have conversations, and they're not going to go, oh, social selling, Tim Hughes. Oh yeah, I'm connected to him. Oh, he creates this great content. If you're not connected to somebody, they're not going to see you. So again, that you're invisible. So that's two things that you need in terms of having a buyer-centric profile and a network that you can basically connect, where you've connected to people and the people that you're trying to influence. Maybe you're trying to sell to them, but ultimately you're trying to influence.
Yes, Tim. There is no argument here. Okay, you make it sound simple, all right, and it's not, because
I'm glad.
Exactly. I know that it takes intention and dedication just to execute on what you just said in simple terms, of course, right? So dedication meaning that kind of knowing what you represent, all right? And that's just my point of view over here, right? What is it you carrying forward to the world, all right?
Yeah, whenever anyone comes to your profile, they need to see what you stand for. They need to see that you have a passion for something, because if you don't have a passion, then it comes across that people won't believe it. The other thing that people miss is that they think their profile is about selling, and it's not. Unfortunately, we have this term social selling, so people think it's about selling on social, and actually we don't like being sold to. We actually, if someone comes to sell to us, we actually have a fight or flight reaction to it. What we're looking for is expertise. So you're salesy actually by demonstrating your expertise. This podcast is a great example of that. You, Irene, you don't need to sell yourself, because it's Irene and she's got that podcast and she's had that person and she's had Marcus on and she's had and so therefore what you're doing is by educating is that you're actually demonstrating your expertise, and that's what we're looking for as buyers. He must be the best person in the world about this, because he's obviously passionate and caring about it, and he can talk about it with insight. The other thing is that we're looking for human beings. We're looking for people because it's the people ultimately that are going to provide the project to us. So we're very good as individuals of working out, do we like that person or do we not like that person? And what we do is that we teach people to write in a way using storytelling techniques, but also write in a way where people go, you do look interesting. So for example, Chris Fleming, who's the CEO of Cyberhawk, they're a drones company. And he writes in my book about what they decided to do. They've actually got the whole of the C-suite on social media. They look like an organization that you could do business with, that you could walk towards and ask questions of. And what also is that he tells a story in his summary about himself. He said he was horrible at school. He got thrown out of school. But what happens is that he says by all of those things allowed him to be a better person or be a better CEO. And part of that is if you lean into who you are, that's what we're looking for. It doesn't matter if you're technical, that your technicality is your skill. It's your unique selling point is who you are, your experiences, where you've been, what you've done. That is what we're looking for. And if we're looking for big problems to be solved within an organization, it's people with those skills, but a human element to it that we're looking for. And that's what you need to get over.
You're convincing team. That's why you are who you are. So we cannot ignore this elephant in the room. You mentioned search before. You mentioned how people search on social media. We hear pretty soon our search will be so much enhanced by the big animal in that room called the ChatGPT and everything else that's coming after. Okay, this is just the beginning. So tell me how you feel these days, because I am intrigued and I'm excited. All right, things I see about it, things I see in it. Okay, I know it's only dated 2021. Not long, we'll have next version. So it's not about that. It's about how we're gonna be who we are going forward. Tim, what's your take on this?
I'm really excited about the future, about AI. I think we're going to look back when we talk again in 5 years' time. We'll look back on this and we'll laugh. Just as much as we will laugh. When we've got these amazing computers. I don't know why we call them phones, because I don't ring anybody anymore. But I had a BlackBerry, which I thought was just amazing, and it's kind of like you had a BlackBerry.
And it was at the time.
And I had one of those little Nokias where I used to play Snake and stuff like that. And I thought that was just brilliant, the way that you no longer had a call. A telephone was something in our house, which was you had a call, and it was, and my parents used to say it was expensive to use it, so we never rang anybody. And that's what's going to happen with AI, is that things are going to change. At the moment, ChatGPT is pretty. It's powerful, but it's doing is it's a word predictor. So people that don't know, there's two elements. There's the ChatGPT, and then there's basically something on top which checks to see that the answer is okay. So, for example, I don't know if people remember, there was a AI that Microsoft put out, which was on Twitter, and they shut it down after it said things like Adolf Hitler was a nice person. So what we have is the ChatGPT, the AI, which all it's doing is trying to predict the next word. Now, it has access to all of the data that humans have ever written, but you can imagine, humans have written all kinds of things. Adolf Hitler wrote a book, and so it has access to all kinds of things. And on top of that, you've got this filter to make sure that it says the right thing. And there's people having fun at the moment saying, because you can't. If you say, give me 5 ways to commit suicide, it will say, I can't do that. And that's the filter being basically being applied to it. But in the future, we're going to have our own AIs. We're going to have AI in our phone. And just as much as I was talking to someone the other day, and they, like us, we've got Alexa in the kitchen. And, you know, we were having a conversation, and there may be like a conversation about the Rolling Stones. And you go, well, how old is Mick Jagger? I don't know. We go, Alexa, how old's Mick Jagger? And it's come part of the, and you know, and you want that information instantaneously because it's kind of part of the conversation. And that's what AI is going to better enable us to do. Is it's going to become part of our lives, and really it's about embracing it. And it's going to have a massive impact, just as much as IT did. You know, if you think about, so I am old enough. When I first went into my first sales job, we had a typing pool. Now, the company was a little bit behind the times in terms of its embracing of technology, but it had a typing pool. I wrote letters on a pad of paper, and I sent them off. And clearly, you know, when in the next job I had, which is where we were actually given 386 laptops, 25% of the sales force basically said, I don't do my own typing. That's not what we do. I sit in front of customers. And they left. And the companies that they basically went and joined no longer exist. And I remember getting this laptop and thinking, I need to stay ahead. I need to stay current, because this thing is changing. Now, in 1985, there was a job called an administrator. By 1995, that job no longer existed. And there will be situations where that will happen. But there again, I joined the IT industry, and the IT industry has created so just think of the jobs that it's created: PCs, mainframes, Unix. You know, we can reel off the buzzwords. It employs, I don't know what 20% of the world. You know, I don't know. It's a massive part of the population, and AI is going to be the same. We just need to know and embrace it. What we have now is fairly embryonic, and it will just get better and better. But it's going to have a massive impact.
It will. Again, no argument here, team. Speaking of industry disruption, when I started my career, the job that I was taking, okay, I did not know existed 10 years before, and it didn't. All right. And being Oracle developer, and then other vendors, and then going broad and going, you know, into professions in a way that, hey, it carried my career forward. You know, this is an example. All right. How about other AI now? AI prompter. That will be the role. Okay. You will have to combine human empathy, right, with soft skills, with understanding the technology, with understanding where technology is going.
We're already seeing jobs that where they're asking for. So you know, for people that are watching, they probably you know, ChatGPT, part of the skill is asking it the right question, because at the end of the day, it's just a dumb computer, just as much as Word or whatever it is. And we're already seeing jobs which are to do that. You know, I talk about Chris Fleming, you know, who runs a drones company, and you know, drones are relatively new. They have a piece of software. They, as well as being drones, they create software. So in effect, what you can do is you put the drone up around the oil rig, and it comes back and builds a digital twin of that oil rig, so you can see what needs maintenance, what the distance is, and stuff like that. And while, wow, that's great, it actually, you know, that's current and present. So, you know, we're going to see massive changes with AI, but it's you know, we're a long way away from sentience, where they actually thinks like a human being, because we're so complex. You know, sarcasm, jokes, humor. AI is a long way away from actually understanding those things.
Yep, actually, you know, I'm seeing very interesting experiments with AI humor, okay? And it's as dumb as you can imagine. And at the same time, it does rely on some of our insecurities as well. So this is like another form of art that I'm sure will be developing.
Yeah. And I think that, you know, there was a thing recently where the rapper Drake had a song but there again, the AI couldn't do Nick Cave. So there you have two different people. And what someone said was to me was, well, yeah, Drake's songs are very predictable, whereas Nick Cave basically is like, you know, has, I don't know where he gets his inspiration from, but he's very different from the songs that Drake creates. So yes, I think that AI will become, you know, AI will become a brush just as much as in art, and it will become part of the creation process. But I've just seen a piece of research about what jobs will go, and anything where there's a gig economy, anything that where you know, it can be automated, it will be automated. But there again, that means what that does is it moves humans up the supply chain. You know, if you're having to think or you're having to create something, then you're going to have a job, and that you're going to be required.
Your favorite creators, you will still follow them. Okay, I follow lots of people that kind of making my day and what it is. All right, and I'm sure I'm tuning to their live streams just because it's important for me to hear from them. So their jobs not gonna go anywhere, and creators who do add value, right? We humans, we're gonna lean to them anyway. So let's be
and the more complex life becomes, the more that you're going to turn to people for insight.
Exactly.
You know, and that's so important. I'm doing a lot of work at the moment. I didn't know anything about AI, and I found a guy called Ed Fowler, and he just is so amazing at being able to talk about it and keep it very, very simple. So I said to Ed, let's run a podcast. So we've started a podcast that we run every 2 weeks, and just like this, we run it live, and you know, but I've done it because I didn't know anything about AI, so I leaned into the subject. So it requires me to read up about it, and I think it's one of those things. I saw my parents, when computers come out, not want to get involved, and it took them 5 years to try and catch up, and to have to do a number of very basic computer courses. And I don't want to be in that position. I am an avid learner, but I want to, you know, we have to stay current. Your podcast is a great way of doing that, by the way. Hint, hint.
Congrats on launching your venture, team. Absolutely. So AI podcast by team, please. Yep.
We're currently only going to run it to July because we don't know what's going to happen. But at the moment, every 2 weeks, I run a podcast on AI, and we ask for audience participation. We ask people to come on that questions. Ed seems to know lots of stuff. I'm reading up about stuff. So we actually did gaming today, which and 10 minutes on gaming, and I know nothing about gaming.
Now you do.
I do, and you know, I learned things about NPCs, non-playing characters.
Here we go.
There you go. Yeah.
Yeah, speaking of many different roles you play, team, because you're larger than life personality, okay? I cannot not mention that you're best-selling author on top of everything that you do. And the second edition of your social selling book came out. Can you talk to us, please? Because this is second edition. I know you're currently updating. You're really, you know, up to the latest trends. So what's in this book?
Thank you for asking. So the first edition came out in 2016, and a lot had changed. The book started selling more during COVID, and the publisher Koga Page came to me and said, we need to do a second edition. So what I've done is that I pretty much rewrote it. And I also went out to a whole bunch of people who were practitioners and said, there's this bit in my book, could you write something very practical? So the first edition had 187 pages, and the new one has 306. And I've got people from Cyberhawker, I've mentioned already, Telstra, Ring Central, Mercer, Ericsson, to make contributions. So name names: Daniel Guzman, Anita Vasili, Robert Turl, who's a headhunter friend of mine. Mark Schaefer's written the foreword, and got them to go, basically asked people and said, you run a podcast, you're very good at creating community. Explain to me how you created that community. So we've actually got somebody, who's written about that. Because I still get people that seem to think that social selling is somehow new. Whereas Chris Fleming at Cyberhawk's been doing it for 2 years. He's actually been running a digital organization for 2 years. So as I always point out to people, if you're already 2 years behind, and we're getting some amazing figures from people that are doing social selling when compared to something like cold calling. So with the book, really wanted to put into the detail, the up-to-date information, the changes that have taken place, and I'm really proud of it. And I think it's the feedback I'm getting is just awesome. A lot of people come to me and say that it changed their life.
Congrats on the
how
book.
can you write a book and someone says it? The reason why I wrote the first one was my dad unfortunately has passed away, but he at the time he was suffering from dementia, and I wanted to show him the first book and say, look, your son's written a book. He's obviously turned out okay, and I just wanted to sell one, and it's turned into a massive bestseller, and it has a real interesting cult following, and I'm just so pleased with it.
Fantastic, Tim. Well deserved. Absolutely. I encourage everyone. We'll put the link in the description of this video. I encourage everyone to check out the book. I'm getting it, Tim, because I'm looking at the content of the book. All right, and it's for everyone. And again, I'm not commissioned by Tim.
Irene is not commissioned by me.
I'm not commissioned.
It's for leaders, it's for salespeople, it's for marketers. I've even had technical people come to me and when they say, I'm a technical person and I need to have a position out on digital, on LinkedIn. I need to be visible, and I need to understand the basics. And the book, if you want to understand how to use social in a way to drive revenue, to drive meetings. This is not about fluffy stuff and how to put flowers on your profile. This is about how to strategically use social media to drive revenue in your business. If growth and revenue is something that you're interested in, you need to understand how to do that in a digital first world.
Absolutely. If you're part of an organization, if you're a standalone freelancer, if you are mini business owner, or if you're maxi business owner, all right, that's a great book. I'm getting it. Again, not commissioned. We are digital friends with Tim, all right? So Tim was my guest on SaugaTalks before. I attended a few events by fabulous other digital friends out there where Tim was present. So this is what we're forming in this social world right now, and this is very rewarding, don't you think, Tim?
Oh, absolutely. I think I think this digital world is I've met some amazing people, and I've met some of those people in real life, and I think that this ability to be able to connect to people across the world, you can take your business global. You can be a small business and you can take it global. You can be a small business and you can compete with bigger companies who have more budget and more resource from you and win. So we use this example where we use a product called Brand24 to look at social media influence. It measures influence, not retweets and stuff like that, actually influence them. And so if you take the hashtag digital selling, of the top 20, people in my company are the top 10, because that's the category that we want to own. There is a company with 500,000 employees, and they have 30 million followers on LinkedIn who use that hashtag, and they're not even in the top 20.
That's something to take in, Tim. Yeah,
they have.
Yep.
Way more resources than I have, resources and budget that I can't even imagine. But as a small business, you can own the category. One of our clients wants to, they make displays. And one of the things that they want to be number one in the world for is power supplies, because that's important to them. And they're number one in the world for power supplies. Now, they're important because they want to influence that. But they also, the revenue side from that is that they get a piece of inbound, one piece of inbound every month from that, saying, see that you know your stuff about power supplies. Can you come and talk to us?
In the conclusion of our talk, I cannot not ask you about low tech on your background. Okay, what's this beautiful piece over there I'm seeing, just for the interest of our audience, right there? Yes.
So this is my great grandfather's gramophone. So it's been passed down to me over the years, and it plays 78 records. So I have inherited both this gramophone and 878s, and this is one of the tape recorders that my father was a sound engineer at the BBC. This is one of the tape recorders he had, and I have another one which is in a museum in Scotland, and I have all of his reel-to-reel tapes, which I need to basically go through and work out what's on them.
Fascinating. I could not ask about that. Thank you so much for sharing this, Tim, with everyone, with the world over there. So how about we taking technology of the past, we're taking it into the future, don't you think? I mean, with all the innovation happening, these pieces, they warm our hearts, they connecting us to, those who went before us.
Well, this is interesting. This is quite, at the time, this is the height of technology.
Exactly. I know what you mean.
It has no battery. It's wound up. It's not connected to the mains. It was the height of sound and music reproduction.
I can see from here.
Now we can either stream stuff or have files on our phone, and unlimited. What was it that Steve Jobs said with the iPod? Was it 1,000 songs in your pocket or something? Here we have this is the change that's taken place, and it's the change for I think the change is for the better. Sound reproduction certainly is better.
Where would we be without those inventors? Okay,
but this is where it started, and this is the change that we have to accept change, and it's great to look back. I put these things behind me deliberately to create conversations like this, but what it shows you is that the way that we've advanced in a number of different technology areas. Social, digital, AI are going to be areas that we're going to see developments as well, and we just need to embrace it.
Fantastic, Tim. Thank you so very much. I had fabulous time on this episode of SaugaTalks. I'm sure audience will respond to us. So in conclusion, could you please leave us with few takeaways, okay? Something to remember this fantastic session by.
Okay, thank you. So really, there's my book. It's the second edition. It's got the yellow cover. Social Selling Techniques to Influence Buyers and Changemakers. It's available on Amazon worldwide, and you can get it there. You can find me on LinkedIn. I'm Tim Hughes. Most people you can find me, and our website is dlaignite.com. And if you've listened to this and you've enjoyed it, please come and connect to me and talk to me and say that you've heard me on Irene's podcast. And I'd love to talk to you, and I'd love to get your feedback.
Thank you, Tim, so very much. Thanks.